3 years ago, I sat in my father's mahogany-lined office, watching him flip through my business plan with barely concealed disdain. Each page turn was accompanied by a scoff or a dismissive shake of his head. My mother stood by the window, pretending to admire the Chicago skyline while actually avoiding my eyes. Digital transformation of the construction industry? Dad's voice dripped with sarcasm. Emily, we've been building skyscrapers for 40 years. Davidson Corp doesn't need apps or artificial intelligence to pour concrete. I leaned forward, trying one last time. But that's exactly why we need to evolve. The industry is changing. If we don't adapt, enough. He slammed the document down. Your ideas are worthless. Just because you got some fancy tech degree from MIT doesn't mean you understand this business. Robert, Mom finally spoke, her voice soft but firm. Perhaps we should . No, he cut her off. Emily needs to understand. This company wasn't built on Silicon Valley fantasies. It was built on steel and concrete and hard work. I stood up slowly, gathering my carefully prepared presentations and market analyses. 3 months of work, dismissed in 15 minutes. Construction is about relationships, Dad continued, warming to his favorite theme. About handshakes and reputation. Not, what did you call it? Digital platforms and integrated systems. The world is changing, I said quietly. Even if you're not. His face reddened. If you think you're so smart, go build your little tech company. But don't come crying back when it fails. One more thing, I paused at the door. What about my trust fund? I could use it as seed money. Absolutely not, he thundered. That money is for your future in Davidson Corporation. If you walk away with nothing. So I did. 3 years later, I stood in my own office, 40 stories above Seattle's bustling tech district. The space was all glass and light, nothing like Dad's dark, traditional office. On my screens, real-time data flowed from construction sites worldwide, all powered by BuildTech, the company I'd built from scratch. Miss Davidson? My assistant's voice came through the intercom. Davidson Corp's CFO is here for your meeting. I smiled, thinking of all those dismissive scoffs. Send him in. Marcus Weber looked nothing like the confident CFO I remembered. His suit was slightly rumpled, his tie loosened, signs of stress I'd learned to read during my childhood around corporate executives. Emily, he managed a weak smile. You look successful. Amazing what worthless ideas can build, I replied, gesturing to a chair. What can I do for Davidson Corp? He shifted uncomfortably. Your father doesn't know I'm here. I assumed as much. We're in trouble, he admitted. The industry has changed exactly as you predicted. Traditional contractors are losing bids to more technologically advanced companies. Companies using systems that look remarkably like what you proposed 3 years ago. I pulled up Davidson Corp's latest financial reports on my screen. They were public now, after all. Your stock has dropped 60% in 6 months. We need to modernize, he said. Fast. But the cost, the technology infrastructure required, is substantial, I finished. About $2 billion by my estimate. He blanched. How did you know? Because that's what I've invested in BuildTech over the past 3 years. I turned my screen toward him, showing BuildTech's market valuation. His eyes widened at the number. This is impossible, he whispered. You started with nothing. I thought about the nights spent coding, the maxed-out credit cards, the tiny apartment where I'd built my first prototype. Not nothing. I had something better than money. I had vision. My phone buzzed, a text from Mom. Your father's looking for Weber. He's furious. Please, Marcus leaned forward. Davidson Corp needs an investor who understands both construction and technology. We need BuildTech as systems. We need. He swallowed hard. We need you. I stood up, walking to my window. Below, a construction site hummed with activity, every aspect monitored and optimized by BuildTech's platforms. Funny how things change, I said softly, thinking of that day in Dad's office. Tell me, Marcus, does Dad still think my ideas are worthless? Marcus shifted in his chair, his discomfort palpable. Your father. He's struggling to accept how much the industry has changed. Last week, we lost the Meridian Tower project to a contractor using BuildTech systems. I know, I said, pulling up the project details on my screen. They'll complete it 30% faster and 25% under traditional budget estimates, all while maintaining higher safety standards and better worker satisfaction rates. That's what I've been trying to tell him, Marcus sighed. But Robert Davidson doesn't like being wrong. My phone buzzed again, another text from Mom. He's called an emergency board meeting. Please tell me you'll help. I smiled, thinking of all the board meetings I'd sat through as a child, watching from the corner while the adults made decisions. Now those same board members were watching their company crumble because they'd refused to listen to a naive young woman with worthless ideas. Show me the numbers, I said to Marcus. The real ones. He pulled out a tablet, hands slightly shaking as he pulled up document after document. Bad quarterly reports. Lost contracts. Declining market share. Davidson Corp wasn't just struggling, it was dying. We need $2 billion for the digital transformation, he explained. But the banks won't lend to us anymore. Our credit rating has dropped to junk status, I finished. I know. I've been watching. The irony, he laughed bitterly, is that we'd be worth 10 times that if we'd implemented your plan 3 years ago. Just then my assistant's voice came through the intercom. Ms. Davidson? Your father is calling. That's his 5th attempt today. I checked the time. The emergency board meeting must have started. Put him through to my cell. Marcus started to stand, but I waved him back down. Stay. You should hear this. My phone rang and I put it on speaker. Dad's voice filled the room, as commanding as ever, but with an unfamiliar edge of desperation. Emily? Where's Weber? Hello to you too, Dad. It's been 2 years since you last called. Don't play games, he snapped. The board is waiting. We have a situation dash. A situation? I interrupted. You mean the complete failure of Davidson Corp to adapt to modern construction practices? The loss of major contracts? The plummeting stock price? Silence. Then, how do you know all that? Because I'm not just some kid with worthless ideas anymore, I said calmly. I'm the CEO of the company that's revolutionizing the industry you refuse to change. More silence. I could almost hear him processing this. Build tech, he finally said. That's you. Remember when you said digital platforms wouldn't work in construction? That relationships were all that mattered. I pulled up Build Tech's client list on my screen. Funny thing, we now manage projects for 8 of your top 10 former clients. Marcus was staring at me with a mixture of awe and fear. The board wants to know, Dad's voice was quieter now, if you'd consider a partnership. A partnership? I laughed softly. Dad, Build Tech's market cap is 12 times Davidson Corp's current value. We don't need partnerships. Then why did you agree to meet with Weber? I looked at Marcus, who was studying his shoes intently. Because Mom asked me to. She's been secretly keeping me updated on Davidson Corp's decline for months. Hoping I'd help when the time came. And will you? For the first time in my life, I heard uncertainty in my father's voice. I pressed a button on my desk, bringing up a holographic display of Build Tech's latest project management interface. Marcus gasped. He'd never seen anything like it. That depends, I said, on whether you're finally ready to admit that some worthless ideas might be worth something after all. The next morning, I walked into Davidson Corp's headquarters for the first time in 3 years. The security guard did a double take. He remembered me as the boss's rebellious daughter, not as the CEO of Build Tech. Mom was waiting in the lobby, trying to maintain her usual composed demeanor but failing to hide her anxiety. The board's been in session since dawn, she whispered, hugging me. Your father hasn't slept. Neither have I admitted. But for different reasons. I'd spent the night with my team, preparing what we called Project Homecoming, a detailed analysis of how Build Tech could transform Davidson Corporation. Not save it, transform it. There's a difference. The boardroom fell silent as I entered. 15 pairs of eyes watched me cross to the podium, including my father's. He sat at the head of the table, looking smaller somehow, the weight of imminent failure heavy on his shoulders. Good morning, I said, setting up my presentation. Before we begin, I'd like to share something with you. I pulled up an old photograph on the screen, Dad and me at a construction site when I was 12. I was wearing an oversized hard hat, beaming at the camera while he pointed out the building's foundations. This was the day I fell in love with construction, I said softly. Not because of the concrete or steel, but because Dad showed me how each project tells a story. How buildings shape cities and change lives. Dad's expression flickered with recognition. But stories evolve, I continued, switching to BuildTech's latest project, analytics. Technology doesn't replace the fundamentals, it enhances them. Every data point here represents a worker's safety, a project's efficiency, a client's satisfaction. For the next hour, I showed them exactly what BuildTech could do. Real-time project monitoring, AI-powered resource allocation, safety systems that predicted problems before they occurred. Everything I'd tried to explain 3 years ago, now proven and profitable. We're not here to buy Davidson Corp, I concluded. We're here to revolutionize it. But there are conditions. The board leaned forward. Dad's hands tightened on the table. First, complete digital transformation. No half measures. Second, a new management structure that embraces innovation. And third, I met my father's eyes. I want my old office back. A moment of confused silence, then understanding dawned on their faces. You want to come back? Dad asked, his voice rough with emotion. Not as your daughter, I clarified. As BuildTech's CEO and Davidson Corp's new executive chairperson. We'll merge the companies, combining Davidson's legacy with BuildTech's innovation. Marcus, sitting near the back, started calculating on his tablet. The combined value would be extraordinary. But the Davidson name? One board member asked. Stays, I assured them. Because despite everything, Dad was right about one thing: relationships do matter. But so does progress. The vote was unanimous. As the board members filed out, Dad remained seated, staring at the photo still displayed on screen. I remember that day, he said quietly. You asked so many questions. Wanted to know how everything worked, how it could be better. I never stopped asking those questions, I replied. I just found different answers than you expected. He stood slowly, straightening his tie, a gesture I'd seen thousands of times. That office, it's still yours. Never gave it to anyone else. I know, I smiled. Mom told me. She also told me you kept every article about BuildTech's success, even while telling everyone you'd never heard of us. He had the grace to look embarrassed. I was wrong, he admitted. About everything. Not everything, I corrected, walking to the window. Below us, the city skyline was dotted with buildings bearing the Davidson name. You taught me to think big, to build things that last. I just built something different than you expected. And now we build something together, I said. Something that honors the past while embracing the future. As if on cue, my phone buzzed with an alert. BuildTech's stock was soaring on rumors of the merger. Dad's phone buzzed too. Davidson Corp's stock was doing the same. Funny, he mused, how things come full circle. I thought about that scared but determined young woman who'd walked out of his office 3 years ago, clutching a rejected business plan and wounded pride. Not a circle, Dad, I corrected. An evolution. And it's just beginning. The next day, as I moved into my old office, now equipped with BuildTech's latest technology, I found something on the desk. My original business plan, every page carefully preserved, with a note from Dad. Some worthless ideas are priceless. Welcome home. Sometimes the best investment isn't in stocks or buildings. It's in proving that the future you imagined was worth fighting for all along.